Hey guys, this is Becca. If you want to skip to the art exercises, I will put a link in the description. I really wish I could make a video every week because every time I sit down to do it, it is so clarifying and elucidating to me. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for watching and encouraging me to make these videos because I promise they are absolutely so helpful and critical for me in managing my narrative about myself. So as an artist, as probably all artists, it's really easy to fall into these sort of negative, very self-critical narratives about yourself. For example, I'm not creative, I'm lazy, I'm not talented, I'll never be good enough. The list goes on and on. And it's so easy to start, once you go down that path, to start swirling around in that very negative space. But for whatever reason, whenever I sit down to make a YouTube video, it goes away. Like all of a sudden I snap out of this negative self-talk. And I think it's because I'm really forced to be objective. Like when you say something out loud to other people, you really have to think, am I being honest and are these things true? And a lot of times our negative self-talk is not true and it's not honest. And just forcing yourself to make an objective assessment of what's happening and what the situation is has been so helpful for me in my art journey. So, for example, last week my husband came to visit, and it was the first time I've really taken a break since I've been here. I have been working pretty much nonstop, trying to just catch up and learn as much as I can. And while he was here, I went to class, but I did not do any work at home. And we had a blast. We went to Naples, we went on a food tour, we went to a castle, we saw all the architecture in the city, we went shopping and saw like these beautiful displays that they have at all the stores here. It was so lovely and I just had a wonderful time and felt like I was really taking advantage of being in Rome instead of just being in my room all the time. However, when he left and I had to go look back and see all the work that I had to catch up on, I was just immediately flooded with self-criticism, with guilt, with panic, with all of these negative feelings about not having done enough work while he was here. So that was a really unpleasant feeling. Luckily for me, I am making this video right now, so when I sat down to put together my notes for this video, as per usual, it just completely snapped me out of this mindset. And I think it's because I always go back to some guiding principles. I have a document with some quotes and some little notes about things relating to my goals and my values and what I'm trying to get out of studying art. And when I look at those values, one thing that's always so clear is that this is a really long path. This is a journey. This is a lifetime pursuit. I have selected art as something that I want to work on for my whole life. So when I step back and start to take my notes for this video, it becomes so clear and so obvious to me that being upset about missing a few days is completely irrational. Like a few days over the course of a lifetime, it's nothing. It's negligible. And not only that, it's necessary for your mental health. But even more so, I think what really gets to me is that I remember that worshiping impatience and worshiping speed are no longer my values at this point in my life. They are not goals. To get there faster is not my goal. For me, learning art is the tool. It's the tool for me to become a more patient person, a more positive person, a less critical person. So when I find myself in these cycles of self-criticism, it's because I'm judging myself based on past values that I held when I was younger. So values of perfectionism, values of competition, values of being very goal-oriented. So if I can take a break, step back, and remember my new values are not the same as my old values, then I can realign myself and see how this little blip is not as significant or important as it seems. And also it's an opportunity to apply the new values that I'm working towards. Okay, so last thing, before I show the art, I just wanted to share with you, it's a quote or a question, I guess, and you've probably heard a variation of it before, but for me, I find it so comforting whenever I'm feeling rushed or behind or panicked or like I'm not good enough. And the question is this: if you could master art in 1 year or 5 years or 10 years, what would you do with the rest of your life? It's a really simple question, but for me, when I think about it this way, it makes me so grateful for the depth of information that's out there in art, for how much will always be there for me to learn. So instead of it feeling like this endless uphill battle, it feels like almost like a treasure chest or like an endless opportunity for you. And in a world where we just have so much uncertainty, the only thing that's certain is uncertainty. To me, it's really comforting to feel like art will always be there as an avenue for my curiosity and for my creativity. So if you can try and frame it in that way, it definitely makes the whole thing feel positive instead of negative. So we have started doing some rendering exercises in class. So these are done from life. The first one is just a cast, black and white value study. This felt super intimidating because I do not feel comfortable working digitally, but it was a really good time for me to start. I really had to be pushed a little bit more to start working on this type of work. The second one is a color study. Same thing. I'm very uncomfortable working in color. I'm very uncomfortable working digitally, but you got to start somewhere. So I was glad to be kind of forced to have to do this exercise. So this was a drawing for class. We had to create a piece that told a story, an individual piece that had a full narrative, but you were only seeing one frame of it, essentially. I am very proud of this at the moment. I'm sure I'll look back and be mortified later, but this was really my first attempt at trying to put a lot of different elements in perspective. There are some things that are very much not working, but for me, this was a really big step in trying to create more complicated compositions. For this assignment, we were supposed to create a battle scene. I think it's cute, but I did not do the perspective correctly, so I got a pretty helpful but serious critique on the perspective for this one, and some of the position choices of the body and just the general composition needed a little work, but it was fun to put together. Okay, so the next 3 frames, we had to tell a story of a meeting in 3 frames, and I want you guys to see if you can guess what's happening in this story. One person in my class was able to guess what it was. It's a bit complicated, but all the frames work together to try to explain this story. And a lot of these exercises kind of fall into the category of show, don't tell. So we are trying to learn how to tell a better story through images versus through words or through obvious cliches. Okay, the next maybe 10 images are for a character design project that we're working on. So we had to create our own villain. And the first step in this was creating a storyline for this villain, and also exploring different styles and exploring different silhouettes, different props, different elements to create a really unique villain that had its own obvious look, but also personality. My story is about an evil entomologist who's trying to collect a final moth specimen for his collection. We also had to explore our character through beats, which are individual images that tell a little bit of the story, and also through storyboarding, so a little bit more narrative about why your villain turned bad. We did some color exploration, and then we did an exercise in class that was called the happy accident exercise, where you basically cut out different pieces and you sort of collage together a character, and you can use that to help inform your later character design. And lastly, some life drawing. All right, thank you guys. I will see you next time. Bye.